Well, the area down here by the pond we've shown you a couple of times already this year is really starting to form a lovely spot to come down to, particularly when we're getting these warm afternoons, just to come and relax. Just that added little bit of interest with the water makes such a difference in a garden if you can add it. Let's go and have a look close and see what we've got. This is a natural garden pond. It's just a clay-lined pool that's been here probably for a couple of 100 years, part of the old farmyard. It previously has dried up every single year, and really that made it very difficult to grow anything in it. But last few years, and as part of the project, we've popped some pipe work down to bring a water supply into this area. Probably see some of the resultant flow that we're getting through here. That's actually a Clargester discharging into this pool. Keeps the levels really high. We've got an overflow pipe which is at the far side. You can just see it poking through, orangey pipe just in front of those flag irises, that keeps the level from going any higher because we're constantly bringing both the rainwater, surface water from the barns and our treated grey water through this pool to keep the levels going. And just look at the degree of wildlife we're getting in here. The oxygenators that we introduced just about this time last year have really multiplied beautifully in there. We've got a lot of blanket weed forming in there, but these oxygenators are forming lovely big clumps, and you can start to see the long stems of those just below me here in the water. But the water itself is absolutely crystal clear and teeming with microscopic life. We've got water boatmen, snails, the water lilies that we showed you being planted end of last season. Some friend of ours cleared out a pond and was very grateful to debulk his water lilies, and we were very grateful to have them because we got some beautiful size rhizomes which we dug into the mud on the base of this pond, and just look how well they're doing. This is a natural pond, remember, and we do get a lot of debris falling in it, both from this big ash tree that's growing right out the side, probably about 50 foot in height now. A lot of leaf comes off this, but also the sticks and some of the other debris that you're seeing down here also falling off that ash tree. The little platform that you see here acting as a jetty, it's just made out of an old pallet that's held up on those two uprights which were hammered down into the silt. The addition of a little solar lantern on there really just elevate this. It looks so rustic, particularly in the evenings when that comes on. Also notice just to the side I've put a couple of little pumped solar panels on a platform held high, and that is all the power that's required to keep the water movement on the surface going here. We've got a little solar pump that just comes on every 2 minutes for 20 seconds just to give us a little bit of agitation and some added oxygenation into the water. We're getting some really nice plants just naturalising in around here. We've got Regersea in here, which was something that was planted around it quite a while ago but had been gradually dying out. It's now starting to come back, and we've got a bit of flower there coming up. Regersea just loves its roosts moist and cool, and it will put these big hairy flower spikes up to about 2 or 3 feet. Stems are spectacular in themselves, but the little delicate pink flowers held upright, absolutely beautiful. Between that, we've got quite a bit of wild garlic coming through now that we're exposing the surface. Again, this has been previously quite blocked out by the amount of thistle and nettle that had been allowed to just colonise this area. We've also got some wild water ranunculus that must have come in with one of the buckets of weed that friends gave us to try and get the biodiversity back into this water, and that's doing really nicely over there. Not a big flower variety, tiny little yellow flowers, but just look, when you get close up it really does just pop. Lovely. I think that's going to seed really well. Got it coming up in quite a few places in the pond, and with an expanse of water like this you really do need to get quite a big area of the surface covered with plant growth quite quickly, otherwise the algae will just bloom very rapidly. We haven't got any fish in here. Whether they'll come in naturally on aquatic birds that visit the pond, we'll see, but at the moment we're just letting nature just see what does well and what doesn't thrive, because the unknown quantity here is obviously the water quality and how much nitrogen we're going to be putting into this. It may be too rich for a lot of species, but we'll see. Next to the little platform by the side of the pond, we've got an old one of the broken planters, terracotta planters. You can hardly see it now, it's collapsed partially, but that doesn't really matter because it's supporting this hosta, and we've got a perennial little forget-me-not in there. You can see that variegated leaf that's just giving us that little uplift of colour, and that just flows out into this natural forget-me-not that's just seeded itself into this gravel. We didn't put a membrane down when we put this path down, thinking we wanted it to be a much more naturalistic planting. And on the side there you can see we've got peppermints that I've planted into the mud down here, and they're doing really well. And last, but just again, poking through this reedy light grass, this little ragged robin, just a pop of pink colour, subtle, it's not overdoing it, fits in so beautifully just to the palette of greys and blues and pinks we've got here. A very calm, subtle planting and a lovely place to come and sit, just listen to the birds' song and enjoy 5 minutes in your garden, which is what it's all about really, isn't it?